Hello and welcome to the Director's Chair. I'm Fletcher Sanderson, and this week we'll be featuring Cris Marbibi and two of his recent films. Before that, let's take a look at some film industry news. Netflix is creating opportunities for female producers. In partnership with the European Producers Club, the company's goal is to make representation behind the camera have a direct correlation to on-screen representation. The initiative starts with a pitch contest and workshop hosted by Netflix. The 6 best projects will then receive several thousand euros to proceed with development. In order to be eligible for the initiative, teams must be backed by companies whose owners are 50% women and include at least one woman producer and either a woman writer or director. The United Kingdom's film and TV charity have produced a free resource to help destigmatize mental health. In collaboration with mental health experts and industry partners, the Whole Picture Toolkit is a package to offer guidance and advice to those who work in the film industry. By the end of 2022, the charity hopes to see their toolkit used by 100 productions. The charity has appointed 15 change makers to develop the resource, and its creation is supported by several organizations, including Amazon, BBC Studios, Disney, and Sony Pictures Entertainment. Increasing numbers of film, TV, and commercial productions that were set to be shot in Central and Eastern Europe are now looking for new locations due to concerns about Russia's invasion of Ukraine. New locations include Iceland, the Iberian Peninsula, Turkey, and Hungary. Some international companies are considering leaving Europe entirely. We'll be right back with this week's films. Welcome back. Let's take a look at this week's films. we'll be right back with Cris Marbibi. Welcome back to the Director's Chair. I'm here with Cris Marbibi, the director of Guilt and the Intricacies of Living and Inferno. Welcome to the show. So let's start with Guilt and the Intricacies of Living. What inspired you to make this film?
Well, I had a few goals in mind when I wanted to shoot this. There's a God shot where it's just directly over, just from my main character who's in a bed. And then I also really wanted to play with focus, especially with the bokeh in the film, and also just different forms of lighting as well, specifically in the camera, and like there's a shot with the flame, and also there's some with the Christmas lights. I just really wanted to focus on those kinds of things, yeah.
Mm. So what would you say the strongest cinematic influences are on you, both as a director and on this film specifically?
Cinematic influences, I wouldn't say that there's too many. I do have like my favorite movies, and I would say there's this crappy movie that has Joseph Gordon-Levitt in it. It's Don John. It's just about this guy who's, addicted to a lot of things, and he's struggling through that. I would say, like, cinematically, I love characters with a lot of flaws, and the big flaw that I was working with in this is guilt, and that's why that was originally the assignment that I had for this, is portray an emotion and a feeling, and I really wanted to capture that. What does it feel like to live with guilt?
Mm-hmm. So obviously there's a lot of themes, especially with religion. What would you say that the candle represents, as it is a very prominent symbol?
I would say that I grew up Catholic, and I felt like there's a lot of guilt and just growing up, and just like religious guilt, religious trauma as well, and I wanted to capture that somehow. And in my story, he essentially kills his girlfriend or his significant other, and in it, he tries to find different ways of coping with that guilt. And one of those things is the candle. Him kind of lighting the candle and just him kind of living with it, it's kind of like it's a way for him to cope with it, but it doesn't work. And it's almost as if, it's just one of those many things that we try to do to get over, guilt or grief or sadness, and in the end, it's just, you have to live with it, I think. And that's really what it means, is that it's a literal symbolic meaning, and it's Jesus' face on it as well. It's just him, crying, bleeding, with a crown of thorns on his head. Kind of like that. That's kind of like what guilt feels like to me. Yeah. Crown of thorns in your head.
You spoke earlier about that shot where the camera's looking down at the character while they're in bed. That kind of creates that effect of bringing the audience into the film. What would you say inspired that creative decision?
Oh, I really love a good, in the bed scene. Specifically, I love the movie A Ghost Story. They have a lot of stuff in the bed in there. And I don't know specifically if they have a God shot in there, but I love just the soft sheets and just the lighting of it. And I specifically wanted to have jump cuts in it to symbolize time. And once again, it's just that feeling of, you can't sleep. There's something on your mind. And in this case, it's guilt. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
So the score for this piece is very slow and very emotionally affecting. Can you talk a little about your process working with the composer?
Yeah. So the composer was Jake Martino, and he's been a longtime friend of mine. I gave him a bunch of ideas, things that I wanted to portray in the film, and I hadn't actually cut the film. And at this point, I don't think I've even shot it. But Jake Martino is a really great guy, and he has a great brain on his head. So when I told him all my ideas, he started crafting it up. He gave me the first listen of it, and I told him to change some things, but I really liked a lot of the things that happened in it as well. And it only took him about 3 tries for it to get it right, and it only took 2 days. So by the time I was ready to start editing it, it really felt like it was part of the piece.
So other than that God shot that you spoke about, are there any other things that you're really proud of in this film, specifically?
One of the first opening shots is, for me, it's a little bit of a complicated rack focus. It starts off with my main character, and then it shows a knife, and then the knife goes away to reveal that there's someone dead in the background, and then goes back to James as he's reacting to it. That kind of stuff, and then just like the soft, lighting in it, and just the amount of work I put into it as well. I just something that I was really wanting to work on as well. One of my goals is that I really wanted to put my heart and soul into everything that I do now, and really put my best effort in there. Try to get as many people on it as I can, and just do really great at everything I do. And I think I accomplished that with this.
Yeah, I mean, it's an inspiring mindset to have, and it really shows in the film.
Yeah, thank you.
So moving on to the other film, Inferno, what would you say your inspiration for that one is?
Oh, it's been a minute since I've thought about that, but for Inferno, I really liked, once again, religious themes, the idea of sinning, the idea of this visceral creature coming to get you, to bring you to some sort of afterlife. That's really what it was. The skull, I really wanted to play with something like that, and with costume design and art department stuff. And also, one of the common themes in my films is fire. I love having fire in my films. I think it's beautiful. I think the colors make a really interesting subject, and I really wanted to just play with that.
Mm-hmm. So, you talked about the cow creature. What would you say that a challenge was with getting the right look for that?
The big challenge was seeing if I could even do that. I knew this guy on Instagram. Well, I had a friend who told me about this guy on Instagram. He's kind of sketchy. He lives in the middle of nowhere. You lose signal when you go out there. When I met him, he showed me these skulls. He had a huge one, but the one that I got was perfect for it. And then he started telling me about how he has, dead baby goats in his freezer and all of these other things that he could have, and just a bunch of horror stuff. And he was a really interesting guy, and I would really love to work with him again. But yeah, that was a big challenge for that. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, neither of these films feature a lot of dialogue, but they do have very strong stories. So what would you talk about your writing process a little bit, and how the artistic emphasis influences that?
Right. So I don't have a lot of dialogue in my films, and I'll be completely honest with you. It's because I'm lazy and I hate writing. I'd rather focus on the cinematography of it and the themes and what I'm really trying to portray. My writing process is, I love to storyboard. When I'm storyboarding, I do it kind of free form in the same way that Bong Joon-ho does it. I don't start off with a template or anything. I start off with a blank sheet of paper and I draw my own squares. And at that point, I can kind of put things together. If I need to, I'll put something to the side to indicate, like, maybe we'll cut away to this, and something on the bottom is kind of like the next scene. And every scene is dedicated to its page. I can put whatever notes I want to, whatever feelings I want to portray. And yeah, that's really just how I storyboard. That's how I write, really. And I like to see things visually. And whenever I write, I don't have the confidence in myself to portray that to film. So I usually just jump the gun and just start with the shot sheet.
So would you say you generally take a more artistic and art department approach to directing?
Yes, definitely. Art department's really my thing, and just cinematography and directing. So I think a lot can be said without doing much. And the same thing as well in my shots. If you notice, I don't really have a lot of movement in my films. I don't move the camera around. I tend to keep it on a tripod or sticks. And I just think I can focus on composition and framing a lot more, and just what the film is actually saying, rather than trying to do like a gimmicky move, like a zoom, or just like a silly little pan or something like that.
Yeah. So can you talk about like the color scheme and how the more artistic elements come together and how that process is?
Yeah, and I think it really comes together with just kind of being out there and shooting. Obviously, you know, we shot, and I got to color grade and edit it. I really just started to see like those themes of like orange and red and everything like that, and it's just awesome. Inferno was really the first big thing that I wanted to put my heart and soul into. And as a reminder of that, I actually got a tattoo of it.
Oh, wow.
So it is forever going to be the first thing that I made, and it is imbued on me, and that's going to be with me forever. And this tattoo kind of serves as a reminder of where I started. It's not my best. I need to work on it a little bit more. I would like to make a new score for it, do some more sound effects, but to me, Inferno was where I began, and I never want to forget where I began, and that's why I got a tattoo of it.
Oh, well, that's a very good mindset to have. So if you were to start, you know, expanding into longer form content, how would you adapt your process to that?
Well, let's see. I would definitely get a different actor, and I think I would definitely make this I think it's a little short. I think it could definitely span out within 10 minutes, but I don't think I ever want to make it into a full feature or anything like that. I really like to hone in on the themes that I've portrayed in this. And a lot of people ask me, you know, like what does it mean? Like, what does it symbolize? And I don't like to answer those kinds of questions because it's really up to the audience, you know. And if I were to make it longer, I think originally, I think it was what I wanted was this creature who comes down and gets people and brings them to wherever they go. But it's more of like this misunderstood creature who's not really the bringer of death or the angel that brings you up to heaven. It's just this this guy who has a job. But if I could make it into a longer form, I think I would definitely, I might even use the same skull, but I would go more all out on the black robes and everything. Maybe add like wings and just more tattered stuff. Just stuff that I would, if I had the budget for. I would
Yeah, definitely. So can you talk a little bit more about, you know, some of your favorite films and what you enjoy? When you're not directing, what else do you like to do?
So lately I've been, and I've already talked about him, but I've been watching a lot of Joseph Gordon-Levitt films. I don't really like directors. I couldn't care less who directed it because every story is so different, and I don't care. But I do like actors. So my favorite film of all time is 500 Days of Summer. It's a great movie.
Oh, yeah.
I see a lot of myself in Tom's character. That's not a good thing. But I just really love, let's see, like A24 movies, I think. I said earlier, A Ghost Story I love that movie. I really love, and I haven't gotten to do it a lot, is natural lighting, where it's just like out in the open, it just looks very natural. Because one of my big influences in film is Call Me By Your Name. I love that movie. I think it's beautiful. We can put aside the actors in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just love watching movies, man. A lot of my friends, they're so hypercritical about what's in this movie, but a lot of the times when I watch a movie by myself, I'm like, wow, that was amazing. And then until somebody tells me something that was wrong with it, I don't see that. And yeah, that's what I love about art, is that it's personal to me, you know. And my favorite movies aren't always like the best movies ever created, you know. But they're always personal to me. Like there's another rom-com I love. It's called What If. It has Daniel Radcliffe in it. It's so cheesy, but you know, I love it so much.
Yeah. So are you working on any projects right now?
I am. So I recently did one. It's called The Unsolved Case of the Murder of Linda Weaver. And I've gotten to this thing where I name everything really long. Like Guilt and the Intricacies of Living. I've decided I'm just going to name everything really long. That way you don't forget it.
Yeah.
So I'm currently editing that. It focuses on it's one character who is kind of like a cop, and he ends up with a small corkboard trying to solve a murder. But eventually it overcomes his entire room, basically entire mind of the whole wall just being covered in things. And it was once again focused on cinematography and lighting and directing, no dialogue in it. And it's just really artsy, and you can get to see like a time lapse in it where it changes from daylight to sunset to moonlight to eventually just a completely dark room. And it's not actually about the murder, the unsolved case of the murder of Linda Weaver. It's not actually about that. But it was just a really fun exercise to practice art department and lighting, and I wanted to get my friends in on that.
Yeah.
And just have a fun night with it. I think we had a lot of fun. We shot it all in one night, and it was awesome. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So what advice would you give aspiring filmmakers, especially those looking to enter a more horror adjacent genre?
I wouldn't even say that horror is my genre. I hate scary movies. I tried watching Hereditary the first time, and I couldn't get through it. The second time, I was with a bunch of my friends, and I still couldn't get through it. I was hiding under a blanket. Advice for filmmakers, I think in general, just get out there and start shooting. I think if you have a camera, hold it every day and take pictures with it and take photos and take videos, and don't be scared to ask questions, and watch a lot of movies and find the movies that you like, and if you want to replicate it, I never do that, but I think that's a good exercise. And also just surround yourself with other people who like the same things that you do. All of my friends, they're great, and we always watch movies together. We're always filming stuff together, and it is honestly a blessing in my life because coming into college, I did not know that's what was going to happen, and honestly, my life is so much better, and it's so pleasant knowing that like all of my friends share the same passions as me.
That's lovely to hear.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's about all we have. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having me, guys.
And that's a wrap for this episode of The Director's Chair. We will be back next week with another film. Until next time, thank you for watching. Goodbye.